thinking about the size of the opportunity for the respective players in television distribution, in video distribution, well, look, of course, we do a huge amount of market sizing and forecasting, and this will obviously be forming the basis of the forecaster data platform, which we're all very excited about. But it's useless talking about these trends unless you can put some kind of quantity, some kind of number on them. Analysts are very data driven. So, I think when we start looking at the size of the respective opportunities around the world, of course, a lot of our customers at the moment are very interested in how big is the pay TV opportunity and how fast is the OTT subscription opportunity growing. So Ovum in the entertainment team, we cover about 200 markets around the world. But of course, I think the one everyone's very interested in happens to be the bellwether, would be the US market. Pay TV subscription growth in the US is undoubtedly leveling off to declining, depending on its quarterly or annual basis you look at it. A very, very interesting development, of course, is how fast are those viewers adding either OTT video subscription to their existing pay TV subscription, or perhaps very frighteningly or very excitingly, depending on your perspective, trading down from a high-value traditional TV subscription to perhaps some kind of OTT pay TV service, as we see from companies such as Sling and Sling TV, or even perhaps a combination of something like YouTube and a Netflix subscription, cutting out the traditional TV component altogether. But of course, when we think about these trends, attaching some kind of absolute value on them is what enables us to make meaningful analyses about them. And actually having a bit more freedom to bring together disparate data sets into a single view, being able to configure that view, store that view. One example here being obviously OTT subscriptions versus pay TV subscriptions, and being able to do that in dozens of countries across the world very, very quickly certainly helps us as analysts, and we're very confident it will help our clients as well. I think there's a lot of anxiety from many of our customers around the appeal of traditional pay TV subscription and even a traditional multi-play bundle, as we currently understand it, to younger customers in particular. In the US market currently, we are seeing younger consumers in particular opting for a standalone basic broadband service, and then simply making their own bundles, if you like, by collating another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 video subscription services, obviously overwhelmingly tilted towards OTT services these days. So I think that's one source of a lot of anxiety. It's also driving a lot of interesting experimentation in the industry. We see the basic multi-play bundling evolving in some very interesting ways, particularly from some of the bundling strategies from mobile operators who have to address an individual rather than a household, which takes us into a lot of other interesting areas. And we're also seeing, and many of the interesting OTT video services, of course, are being shaped and are being driven by how younger audiences, want to consume entertainment, how they want to pay for it. So, we have a lot of, there are a number of issues still which we have to address. People are wondering about, what younger audiences who are currently growing up, and we look at things like, so we look, how much time are you spending watching a big TV? How much time are you spending watching a handset or a tablet instead? And obviously we see, the rises of non-mainstream TV viewing and, non-traditional content, very wide area, of course, but thinking specifically about short form content in particular. These have risen to account for, increasing amounts of daily viewing time for younger audiences. What happens when these audiences grow up and move into their own place, when once we might have expected many of them to subscribe to a TV service, to buy a multi-play bundle? Well, the answer is, for many of these audiences, we don't know. We've got to wait for them to grow up. But once they do grow up, it's how they spend their money on content, connectivity, on communications. It's currently up for grabs. And this is obviously an area we're very keen to stay right on top of, not just in the quantitative sense, not just in the how much are these people spending, what are they spending it on, but also very much in the qualitative sense. We do a lot of primary research. One of the ways in which we keep a really tight hold on how we think younger audience spending habits are evolving is by going and asking them as part of a primary research exercise. So currently, we in the last 12 months reduced the age of the people we ask down to 16 to try to address that. Previously it was 18. We see a lot of changes ahead in how companies design the services for younger audiences and the services which the younger audiences eventually take up. Not every experiment will work. One other area where we're getting a huge amount of interest and an area we're very excited about as well is, of course, we're seeing a transition towards cellular or mobile networks with 5G technology. The standards for 5G are obviously still being agreed to an extent, but we do see a number of very interesting opportunities. Of course, with 5G cellular networks, the capability to distribute video to ever larger audiences is practically confirmed and a very exciting one. And we're very, very interested as to how this will impact, of course, the entire value chain. And mobile network operators are going to take a much more central role in entertainment distribution. When we think about these things on a quantitative basis, we work with a lot of mobile network operators in particular, but also the content owners, the studios, the broadcasters who would play a key role in enabling any of these mobile video services. And of course, as we've touched on many times in this video, OTT video services will also be another sort of key potential partner, if you like, for any mobile network operator looking to ascend the value chain. So, we've already started sizing and forecasting 5G subscriptions across about 200 countries. We look very, very closely at things like mobile video spending as well as OTT and traditional TV spending. And I think our job at the moment is how do we put together the unified picture across both the entertainment side, the entertainment go-to-market strategies, the communication side, the connectivity angle, and whether those are sold standalone, whether they're bundled, which company sells those things. So there's a lot of open questions. And so look, of course we address those in a quantitative way. We can count mobile subscriptions, we can track and forecast mobile network data traffic volumes as well and segment those by 5G, 4G, 3G. We can also look at things like the amount of reach or the addressable market for certain types of handset. For our clients who are very interested in cellular video distribution, the size of a handset screen is pretty fundamental. The larger the screen, the more video consumption there is. Likewise, what type of mobile deal do they have? If it has a very cheap or uncapped mobile data cap, then guess what? You're likely to watch more video over cellular networks. So these are all things which you'll find in Ovum quantitative forecasts, but currently they sit in different places. So what we are excited around, what Forecaster will enable our clients to do, is to take these disparate data sets and to combine them into their own single analysis for each country, and then replicate that in a standardized way very, very, very quickly across all of the other countries. Across those particular data metrics. So you can imagine if you're a regional or a global service provider, whatever type of service provider you happen to be, there are many of them, and you want to right size your bets and your investments for a mobile video launch, or perhaps to reorient your services somehow to try to capture more value from what is potentially a huge increase in mobile video and TV distribution. Then we would argue that this will sharpen your commercial planning and analysis, but also enable you to do it much, much quicker, hopefully. The key trends in the global consumer and entertainment markets, very wide-ranging question. Okay, so look, from the entertainment perspective at Ovum, I think some of the things we're most concerned with at the moment, well look, let's take one very big mega trend, which is the distribution of visual entertainment over IP, as opposed to the traditional methods of cable, satellite, digital terrestrial IPTV. So of course we're very interested in companies such as, YouTube or iQIYI or Netflix, and how they're becoming increasingly significant players in entertainment distribution. Just a small number of some of the names. I mean, we can also think about players such as Twitch and Amazon as well. Some very, very, some names you perhaps wouldn't expect to find in traditional TV and broadcasting and pay TV, but in our parts of the landscape. Of course, this also has a number of implications for every single existing company in the value chain and all of the competitors of these new companies who want to play in video as well. And so I think one of the things that we're seeing at the moment is, we all hearing about companies such as Facebook, such as Apple, such as Amazon, such as Twitter, such as some of the larger digital platforms in China, such as Tencent, and they're all spending money on acquiring great sports rights or on making their own great TV shows. And we're thinking, why are they getting so into this? And one reason is because we've had maybe just about a decade or more of social networking platforms, of digital media platforms, and they have never successfully started eating in to TV advertising budgets quite yet. And of course, the TV advertising market is a very, very large and very lucrative market. And I think as these digital platforms look at their advertising growth rates, they're now starting to think, okay, look, our growth is starting to slow a bit here. Where's the next big growth story? And I think their eyes turn to the TV advertising, the size of the TV advertising industry, and they start thinking, how do we get into that? How do we get into what ITV is making? How do we get into what CBS is making? And so, I think the next few years we're set up for some very, very interesting competitive struggles between, if you like, the traditional TV value chain and the emerging OTT and increasingly mobile TV and video value chain.